Hello, welcome to the College of Engineering Change of Major webinar. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. My name is Katie Title. I am a Office of the Registrar degree analyst, formerly a College of Engineering academic advisor. I'm joining today to go over the policy of changing majors. I will direct you to send any follow-up questions, especially for those of you who are watching this recorded later. Any follow-up questions can go to our main college advising email account where any of my wonderful, knowledgeable colleagues will be able to answer questions for you. They're not here with us today because they're doing drop-in advising currently. Any follow-up questions that are very specific to you or your change of major process should generally be sent to the department advisors. I will introduce them and their emails later today. This presentation is about an hour. I will ask for apologies if you hear ambient sound. I am recording downtown and there will be cars. My dog might bark, the cat might meow. Apologies in advance for any interruptions or noises. Let's get started. In this presentation, we will go over in not particular order, not this particular order, GPA policy for each engineering major, minimum course requirements, expected petition timeline for the various majors, and engineering course restrictions and how to go about adding a restricted class. Again, this presentation is not all inclusive. There are going to be a lot of you with individual questions that are very specific to you. You will need to work with the departments that you're interested in to find out what will be appropriate or what exceptions can be made. As the college undergrad advising office, we uphold our department's policies, but we do not set them and we do not influence them. So all departments, chairs, department advisors are responsible for communicating any change of major policy changes on their individual websites. And they will be responsible for, as I mentioned, any exceptions to their change of major policy, which are, I will say, rare. All right, so let's get started. Starting with a little general policy that applies to all of our majors. First and foremost, only students who applied and were accepted as freshmen can change majors. So if you're here or if you're watching this later and you are a transfer student, meaning you were accepted from a 2-year or 4-year institution, you cannot change majors into or within the College of Engineering. Transfers must be accepted directly into the major for which they intend to complete if you wanted to be an engineer. And that is very much to honor our application system and the competitive nature of our transfer applicant review. So unfortunately, if you joined us as anything in letters and science or any engineering major that you did not want to be, you will not be able to change to a different engineering major or into engineering. Now, for our freshmen who are still here and still watching, you must complete at least 30 UCSB units, but no more than 105 UCSB units. Let's start with the 30. If you are a student who has a lot of transfer work already, or you've got a lot of AP credit and you think you've got most of the change of major requirements done, you still need at least 2 quarters on campus to get to that 30 UCSB units. Some of you might need 3 quarters on campus to get to that 30 UCSB units. That is because we need a UC GPA. So no more than 105 UCSB units. What does that mean? Well, if you take 16 units a quarter and you have 6 quarters, fall, winter, spring, that's 2 years. That's 96 units. It's essentially saying by the time you are at the end of your 2nd year, you should have changed majors into our college. This is especially important for our CS majors who have a very rolling, continuous opportunity to try to change. Up until you have 100 so units, you can still be pursuing that change, still trying to get into the classes you need. But if you still need 2 or 3 CS classes or math classes to change majors, and you already have completed 2 years on our campus, you will not be changing. Essentially, we do not accept students at the junior level, is what we're saying. That's not to say if you have a bunch of AP credit and you hit junior level at the beginning of your sophomore year, we're going to tell you no. That's not the case. We will not hold AP credit against you. Let me say that. We will not hold your AP credit, your IB credit, essentially credit you earned while you were in high school. We're not going to hold that against you. We're looking at particularly your UC units, courses taken within the UC system after admission, basically from this last summer 2021 on, are the units we're looking at, and that we expect you to have met our prerequisite requirements within that time frame. So don't worry if you have 60, 40, 20 units of AP credit, that's not going to be an issue. Change of major GPAs are generally calculated using UC courses only. The only exception to this really is mechanical engineering, who will use courses taken outside of the UC system to calculate your change of major GPA. So keep in mind that CC classes, CSU classes, they generally never factor into a UC GPA, which means if you take a lot of your courses that are required for change of major elsewhere, they're not helping your GPA on our campus, and we do have GPA requirements for changing majors. So if you have a lot of transfer work already, you are a student who is in an individual situation, and you should talk to a department advisor at some point this quarter to see if there is additional course work they would recommend you take beyond minimum requirements to build that UC GPA and be a competitive applicant. And finally, have a backup plan. It's never guaranteed that students will be able to change majors into College of Engineering, even if you meet the minimum requirements. And I do not say this to be negative, do not say this to be discouraging. I like to be completely transparent. All of our majors, most of them limit how many students they take each year, and many students will only have one opportunity to change majors. They look at students based on cohort. So if you are freshmen pursuing a change of major into a specific major, you're going to be looked against all the other freshmen who are changing into that specific major too at the same time. So do talk with the College of Letters and Science advisor about a backup major if you're undeclared. If you are a declared major and you are in your major that is your backup, be sure you're talking to your department advisor and keeping up with minimum requirements for your major. The last thing you want to do is add time to degree because you spent all year trying to be an engineer and you didn't take anything in your backup plan. So this email right here is Letters and Science Advising Appointments website. Pause the screen, take a screenshot, copy that down, and seek out appointments with the college advisor there. Continued. Students pursuing double majors follow the same prerequisite requirements. So I won't really be saying if you're looking to a straight change of major or you're looking to do a double major, you follow the same path, and essentially instead of dropping your currently declared major, you will add one. So you are expected to keep up with your original major. If you are completing a double major, that often requires very heavy workload. So I want to highlight this, especially because we do have students who double major within engineering and a major in letters and science or College of Creative Studies, but it's not as common as you see students double majoring in 2 letters and science majors. So it is extra work. You do have to complete the GEs for both colleges. Most engineering GEs fit perfectly into College of Letters and Science GEs. However, they require more for both their BS and their BAs. So depending on the degree that you are seeking in their college, you may have to take anywhere from 3 to 5 extra GE classes. You also have to take all the upper division courses for both majors, you're only allowed to have 8 units of overlap in those upper division courses, which means if you are in computer science and you have 70 units of upper division requirements for computer science, and then you want to go be a stats major and they have 60 more units of upper divisions you have to take, only 8 units can overlap. That is a lot of extra units that you're taking on. 60 units is a couple years worth of work that you are looking to get done alongside a very demanding engineering degree. So I like to advise students to really think about what your goals are for that double major and how having those 2 degrees will serve your purpose. If the letters and science department has a minor, that's great. It's a great way to get that extra skill set, have an extra item to put on your resume and to grow your knowledge, but it's less unit requirements. So do look at minors and departments with minors while you're seeking double major advice. Because I will say we do see a lot of students drop one of their 2 majors before they graduate because they decide they'd rather graduate on time than be here for an extra year to finish both degrees. And often double majors, especially 2 STEM double majors, do require either really heavy unit loads throughout your 4 years here or extra time to degree. Students already declared in an engineering major follow the same prerequisites. If you're in a major that does not have access to specific courses, you don't get preferential treatment just because you're already in the college. So if you are a Chemie major and you want to be in computer science, unfortunately, Chemie does not have any priority in computer science classes because your major doesn't require it, and you will have to follow the restrictions along with everybody else. Finally, College of Engineering does not have any minors. You can't minor in computer science. You can't minor in mechanical engineering. So if you're looking to change majors or double major, keep in mind that the courses that you take to pursue this change may or may not be useful if you don't successfully change, because they cannot be parlayed into a minor. All right, so this is a big one we get asked a lot. Let's talk about your odds. It's really hard to say. We don't have a way to capture all the students who come as freshmen and decide they want to pursue a change. We don't take that survey at the beginning of the year of all our undergrad students. I will say there are a lot, and we get a lot of inquiries at the beginning of every year and during an admittance season of, if I come, how can I change majors? So it is high interest, and there are a number of factors that filter students out, including not getting into the courses you need to change majors. So if you're in humanities, you're undeclared, it can be very hard to get math, and students might give up because it's hard to get math. And so they've automatically filtered themselves out and disqualified or discontinued their pursuits just for the difficulty of enrollment. Beyond that, not maintaining a strong GPA. I will get into GPAs momentarily, but we do have GPA requirements, and the stronger your GPA is, the better odds you have, because we do look at the strongest applicants, especially in those majors that limit how many students they accept. And it's all based on GPA. We don't have supplemental applications where you can write an essay and discuss how passionate you are about this major or this industry or what your long-term goals are. We're looking at your courses. And then interest change. They find out they actually really love psych and brain sciences and go over there, or that chemistry can totally fulfill their goals and they don't need to be chemical engineering. So we don't know how many students filter themselves out and never make it to the point of successfully petitioning. I can tell you, on average, our annual major acceptance numbers look like this. This is not over 4 years how many students we accept. This is the average of the last 4 years. Annually, we accept about 12 chemical engineering students. We accept about 5 new computer engineers, so on and so forth. We accept about 40 on average CS students a year. So these majors cannot grow and cannot accept everybody who meets the requirements because we don't have enough faculty and TAs to teach classes of that size. So they really do have to manage how many students they let in, because that directly results in how big their class sizes have to grow. So as you can see, it's not a big number. I will say this average does not include students who change within engineering, because they do tend to have a bit of an easier time if there overlap in the majors. For example, students who want to change from electrical engineering to computer engineering have access to most of the classes. Those majors line up very closely, so they can follow along for both majors and only take maybe one extra class to change. Computer engineering to CS, again, they have access to the CS classes, so they don't have the hurdle of potentially not getting a seat in the class they needed to enroll in. Their hurdle is getting a good grade in those classes. So this number does not include students who change within engineering. Okay. So let's get into some course requirements by major, AKA core requirements. So every department, as I said, sets their own policy. They all refer to these a little differently, but I'm going to call them core requirements, AKA the minimum prerequisites required for you to take before a department will even consider accepting you. So I've broken them down by major. A lot of our majors require some of the same core requirements. So chemical engineering requires math 3A, 3B, and 4A. They also require 3/4 of chemistry plus the lab. So this is essentially an entire freshman year. If you are a student who is pursuing an engineering major and you're not in a math class this fall, that's really the only course that could heavily impact a student if they need to take it and don't take it in fall. In terms of changing majors into engineering, very few things that you absolutely need to be in fall, but if you're pursuing any of our majors, you really should be in a math class, math 3A or 2A. Big caveat, I do this when I want you to listen and really note something. We do accept the 2A, 2B sequence. Sorry that it is not on here. That is just my oversight. So if you're in math 2A instead of 3A, don't panic. We accept that the same way. So if you do not have AP credit, you do not have any transferable IB, CC, any math credit, you should look into your math placement. If you need to take a math placement exam, look into that now and talk to the math department about how you get enrolled in either math 2A or 3A. So that's really the only class that if you don't take it now in the fall, it could set you behind in your change of major pursuits. Now, moving back into our the nitty-gritty of our majors. So chemical engineering has a required set of classes. They also have recommended. So if you want to try to keep up with the major as closely as possible, Physics 1 and 2 and Engineering 3 are courses that you might consider taking or trying to enroll in. Computer engineering, they require 2 CS classes. One of those 2 has to be CS 16 because 24 and 40 require that you have taken CS 16. Please note, CS 8 is not listed in these core requirements. That doesn't mean you don't need to take it. It just means they're not looking at it when they're calculating your core GPA to review your change of major. So just because a course isn't in the core requirements doesn't mean you don't need to take them. A lot of them are prerequisites, and if you don't take them, you will not be able to take the further core requirements. So CS 16 and then 24 or 40, 2 CS classes. You also need EC 10A AL, EC 10B BL, and up to Math 4B done. Note, it does not include Math 3A, 3B, or 4A. That doesn't mean you don't need those classes. It just means they will not be looking at those specific grades when they're calculating your core GPA. Please note, Physics 1, 2, and 3 aren't core courses, but are prerequisites for ECE 10. So if you are not taking either the Physics 20 sequence or the Physics 1, 2, 3 sequence this year, then you will not be prepared to take ECE 10 in the fall, and you could hinder your chances at changing majors. Computer science. This is a big one. A lot of you are looking to change into computer science. About half of our registered participants indicated that this was either a class they wanted to add as a double major or change into. So computer science requires Math 3A, 3B, or 2A, 2B, 4A, 4B, CS 16, CS 24, and CS 40, or Math 8. So Math 8 can be a substitution for CS 40 if you can get into that instead. Most of these classes can be taken elsewhere except CS 24. They have a policy that CS 24 must be completed at UCSB. This kind of goes in line with they can gauge how CS 24 is taught on our campus and everybody is held to the same standard. Whereas if they were to only use students transfer courses, the rigor that things are taught on other campuses will vary, and students who might have the same base skill knowledge might not have performed the same in a class if they were all together at UCSB. So you must take CS 24 at UCSB. If you have already completed all of these courses via transfer work, you need to talk to computer science and see if you can still possibly change and what they want you to take if you've already completed all the minimum requirements. Moving into electrical engineering, as you'll notice, it looks very similar to computer engineering. However, it doesn't have those computer science classes. Instead, it has more math. You will also note that there are 6 classes listed there, and they want you to have at least 5 done, which means if you don't have all the math, that's okay. You can take EC 15A instead of Math 6B if you're not ahead in math, and that's how you'll get your 5 classes. Again, please note, Physics 1, 2, and 3 aren't listed in core courses, but they're not classes you want to ignore because they are prerequisites for the second year sequence that you need to take. Mechanical engineering, they have a much longer list, so I'm not going to read all of those out. I will let you screenshot, pause, write it down. Mechanical engineering wants you to take at least 6 of these classes in order to change majors, and at least one of them has to be ME 14. ME 14 is only offered in the summer and the fall. So that means it will be available to you this upcoming summer 2022 and fall 2022. It is not offered in winter or spring, which means if you do not get that class this summer or this fall and successfully pass it with a strong grade, you will not be changing into mechanical engineering. So I want to point that out now so that if you need to plan ahead to take summer, you can. Otherwise, they're looking for a combination of math, physics, engineering 3, chemistry, ME 10, which is offered this spring. And you need to take at least 6 of those. As I noted earlier, some of these can be transfer credit, they can be AP credit. Just note that AP credit has no GPA associated with it. And for all of our majors, except for mechanical engineering, they will accept transfer credit, but it doesn't count towards the UC core GPA they're looking for, which means you may need to take additional classes to build that core GPA. Okay, so I've talked a lot about core GPA. What does that mean? All of our majors require at least a 3.0 UC GPA. So this means everything you take on our campus, whether or not it's pertains to our majors, or RGEs. Any letter graded class you take at UCSB is going to build, or in the UC system, is going to build your UC GPA. So we're looking for a 3.0 to qualify at all for engineering. Beyond that, our various majors have specific stipulations. So for example, chemical engineering has no additional GPA stated. That means that annually they look at the cohort of students who were ready to submit their change of major petition when they needed to. And they say, we have 10 seats, we have 15 applicants. Who are the strongest GPAs? We're going to go with them. Computer engineering, 3.0 or better in required core courses. So that means the math, the CS, the ECEs. Those are your core courses that I just listed. And you have to have a 3.0 or better in those when they pull them out of the rest of your GPA. Computer science, they're looking for a 3.2 in the 3 CS classes you need to take, or the math class, and then a 3.0 in those 4 math classes that you have to take. If you are a student who has already taken all of the CS prerequisites to change elsewhere and you don't have a UC GPA, you need to talk to the computer science department. Electrical engineering, again, same as computer engineering. These majors are housed together, so I will reference them together a lot. They are 3.0 or better in required core courses. And then mechanical engineering, they are looking for a 3.2 or better in their 6 core courses. So does it mean that if you have a 3.2, you're going to get in? No. Is it better to have higher than these minimums? Of course. But if you don't at least have these minimums, you're automatically disqualified. There will not be exceptions to our change of major GPAs. Okay. Well, how do you get into these classes? That's another big question a lot of people have. So I want to point out major restrictions are there for a reason. Engineering advisors will always uphold the major restrictions that are in place in gold. So that means if you want to get into CS16, but it's Pass 1 and you're not in a major that has access to that class in Pass 1, you're not getting an ad code. Do not reach out to advisors. If you aren't on the restricted list in a pastime that's restricted, they're not going to give you a seat. They have to protect the space for the students who are declared and need the class first. And then if there are seats left over, they will fill those empty seats with change of major students. Departments don't want seats to just sit empty. They will utilize every seat they have, but not right away. So that means when you're building your schedule, you might have to be flexible and register up front in some backups. Never leave your calendar blank because you think you're going to add classes in Pass 3 for change of major. Always add in at least 12 units in Pass 1, even if you think your schedule is going to change later. So that's a big one. Want to tell everybody now. So restrictions for things like math, chemistry, and physics are set by those departments. We cannot get you into chemistry. We cannot get you into physics. Often STEM majors have Pass 1 access. So if you are a student in chemistry, a student in biology, a student in math, you obviously shouldn't have a hard time getting into a math or a physics class. So as it comes down to it, where do you find restrictions? I've got a couple examples here for fall quarter. Restrictions can be found in gold. If you log into gold and you're looking at a class, you go to course info. On the left-hand side, you will see a restrictions tab, and that's where you will find these restrictions listed. The examples I have here, CS16, are restricted to engineering majors who require it in Pass 1 and Pass 2. That means if you aren't in computer engineering, computer science, or electrical engineering, you're not adding this class at that time. Whereas Math 3A is only restricted in Pass 1. So after Pass 1, students in any major were able to add it. So that means if you were a freshman joining us, you came directly into your Pass 2, Hopefully you did not have any issues adding in Math 3A if you needed it. Now, the other thing I want to say, major restrictions don't impact the wait list. So if you see that a class is already full, if CS 24 is full and the restrictions haven't lifted yet, it's not past 3, wait list. The wait list will not hold you back just because you are not one of the declared majors who have access to enroll in the course. So tip about how gold functions. All right, so I'm going to get into the specifics of how each major assists change of majors in enrolling in their courses. So for chemical engineering, you really aren't required to take any courses owned by engineering. They're all within letters and science. So hopefully you have access to chemistry, hopefully you have access to math, and your main responsibility is getting into those classes and getting good grades. If you did want to take engineering 3, which was on the recommended list, it does have a pass time restriction that lifts usually in pass 3, sometimes in pass 2. Computer and electrical engineering, aka ECE, these courses are housed together. There is a course non-major form required, which you can fill out and submit to the undergraduate advisor before pass 3. No rush. It doesn't matter if you turn it in pass 1, you will not be helped until pass 3, until all of our engineers have had a chance in pass 1 and pass 2 to register for the course. So all you have to do is go to either the CE or ECE website. It's the same form. You will fill out the ECE course non-major form and you will turn it into Beth English via email. And she will hold on to all of those forms. And then at the beginning of the quarter, when she sees how many extra seats she has, she will look at how many students turned in a form to get those seats, and she will give the seats to the strongest applicants. So this is where I want to point out that your GPA and your core GPA aren't just reviewed once. They are often reviewed at a couple points in this process. So having a strong GPA going into requesting your engineering courses is important. If you have below a 3.0 UC GPA and you're requesting to get into an engineering class, you likely will not get a seat. All right, computer science, really big one. Lots of people need to get into computer science or want to. Restrictions vary by quarter. So don't assume that just because CS16 was restricted to pass 1 and 2 this quarter, that it'll be the same next quarter. They do change based on student demand. For example, we anticipate most of our CS or CE majors will have taken CS16 this quarter if they needed it. So we might not restrict it as heavily in the winter because we don't anticipate as many of our own engineers needing that class. Whereas computer science 24, it might be more heavily restricted because we know a lot of our students will need that class. So check the restrictions tab for CS classes each quarter. It does change. Don't assume one quarter will look like the next. And as I mentioned before, if a waitlist goes active, add yourself to it. It doesn't matter if it's past 1 and the class has filled up and you're not a CE major that would be able to just add it anyways. Add yourself to the wait list. I promise it'll let you as long as you have the prerequisites. It will not let you add yourself to a wait list if you don't have the prerequisites. And mechanical engineering, sorry, students must provide written instructor approval to the ME advisor in order to be considered for any ME courses. Again, the ad codes will be distributed in pass 3. So ME restrictions never lift. They manage who gets to add in their course and who's trying to change majors and who gets that seat. So again, this is a point where you have to ask the instructor directly, make it a very short email. Hello, I would like to take your class. I'm attempting to change majors into mechanical engineering. Please let me know if you have any questions. If they say yes, that's fine. You will send that approval over to the mechanical engineering advisor, Hannah. she will keep a list of all the students who got that advisor approval. And then before pass 3, she's going to go look at your GPA and she's going to give the seats to the strongest candidates. So that is to say, when you need to take ME14, don't just come to us and say, how do I add in ME14? You first ask the instructor, may I be in your ME14 class this summer? And if they say, yes, I support this, you send it to Hannah and she'll assist you with enrolling once all mechanical engineers have had a chance to grab their seat. Okay. Petition timeline by major. So when are you looking to make these changes? When should you be turning in your form? Not until you're ready to or enrolled in your final requirements. So don't turn in a form if you still have a year's worth of courses to take. You take it when you're in your final courses. But some departments might want to hear from you before then. So chemical engineering, you have 2 windows of opportunity to apply. At the end of your first year, which means you are turning in your form to the Chemie department in spring, saying, I think I'm finishing my last courses to change majors. And they will look at your request once the quarter ends and your grades are in. They also have a rare second window. If you are a student who's trying to change majors into chemical engineering as a second year, they will expect you to have more than the minimum requirements done. Otherwise, you will be behind in the major and you will have extra time to degree. Students should contact the Chemie advisor in the fall. How do you contact the Chemie advisor? Don't worry, I'm going to give you all of their names and their emails shortly. Computer engineering, 2 windows of opportunity. In the winter of your second year and in the spring of your second year, which means within the winter, you are turning in a form and completing your final change of major requirements. Or within the spring, you are turning in your form and completing your final change of major requirements. Students should contact the ECE advisor in your first year. So it doesn't need to be right away. It doesn't need to be today. Maybe before winter quarter, touch base with the ECE advisor and make sure you're enrolling in the appropriate things for that quarter. Computer science, they have a rolling quarterly review. This is the only department that reviews change of majors every quarter. They do have a requirement that you submit your form by week 4 of the quarter you're completing the prerequisites, aka core requirements. So do not wait to turn in your form until 2 quarters after you've taken CS 40 and Math 4B. That could hurt your chances of being accepted into the major. So they are very strict about this. They want to review all cohorts together that took the classes together, which means if you're in your final courses, you need to be turning in that change of major petition in week 4, or by week 4 rather. Electrical engineering, the same as computer engineering, 2 windows of opportunity. They are both heavily based on the ECE 10 sequence, and they do that identically. So that change of major process looks very similar. Again, students should contact the ECE advisor sometime in your first year, but maybe before or by winter quarter. Mechanical engineering, you have 1 window of opportunity. The mechanical engineering department only reviews cohorts after the fall quarter. So that is to say, you might have taken ME14 in the summer and have all of the minimum requirements done, but you still won't be reviewed for the change until after fall, which is the final opportunity for your cohort to take ME14 and be reviewed for a change. So for those who are changing into mechanical engineering or looking to do so, you have 1 window of opportunity. It'll be within your second year. And students should contact the ME advisor in the fall. So I will say that our smaller departments, Chemie and ME specifically, they do track their change of major hopefuls through their first year. So they want you to check in quarterly and they want to make sure that you're taking the right classes, keeping the right grades and GPA up, and that you have a very clear expectation of the likelihood of being accepted in. Okay, so how do you contact these advisors? Here you go. Chemical engineering, Erica Diaz. Computer and electrical engineering, Beth English. Computer science is Selena Martinez. And mechanical engineering is Hannah Morse. These are the advisors that you want to send your specific questions to. So if you have questions that came up today that I didn't touch on, maybe, again, like I said, you've taken a lot of transfer work, or you aren't in math right now and you're worried about what that might mean for changing majors, reach out to the department advisors. Here's a big caveat. Please don't reach out to them during the first or second week of the quarter. They're very busy people. They have about 500 students plus each to advise that are declared in their departments, and most of them are a one-person advising team. So a lot of their first week is putting out fires of their currently declared students. They won't have time to answer change of major questions, which we don't deem urgent. So hold off. Instead of waiting for a response for 2 weeks, just reach out. Maybe week 3, week 4, that's a great time because it's before you're planning winter and it's a little bit into fall, so you know how things are going a bit. And if you have to ask them questions about how things are going, they might be able to help you out. So again, do reach out to these advisors. Computer science is the only department. They do not need you declaring that you intend to change. They don't track it. It's too many students. So if you did have specific questions, please reach out, but know that they don't require you to meet with them in order to pursue this change. Almost done here. Student organizations. I wanted to include this because circling back to how do I increase my chances? How do I be a competitive applicant for changing majors? Sorry, the cat's under here. Well, joining student organizations is a great way because these people are resources. So it's a great way to find study groups. It's a great way to ask people questions about classes that you might be taking that they already have. And it's a great way to get some hands-on experience. So you do not have to be an engineering major to be in an engineering org or to be a part of any of these orgs. They welcome all majors. They're happy to take people of all knowledge levels. And it's a great way to be involved even if you don't change majors or you don't successfully change majors. Anecdotally, I do know a student who was physics and he wanted to be mechanical engineering. Unfortunately, he just missed the GPA cutoff. He did not have the 3.2 he needed. He had a 3.0. And so he did complete his degree in physics, but the entire time he was with us, not only was he in ASME, our American Society of Mechanical Engineers, but he was also an officer in Los Ingenieros, and he had a great core STEM student group community, and he got to go on all the field trips and industry info sessions, and he got to see examples of people in aerospace industry with the degree he has doing the engineering job he wants. So that is to say, there is no one direct path to a lot of careers in industry, and taking advantage of extracurricular opportunities, research opportunities, etc., is a great way to make yourself a desirable employee without maybe the engineering degree. So we're almost at the end here. Key takeaways. You should contact the department advisor this quarter if you are interested in electrical engineering, computer engineering, mechanical engineering, or chemical. Don't reach out in week 1. They're really busy. Wait a couple weeks, send your email. Format it now. Schedule send. Great way to use that function. Do meet with an LNS advisor, whether that be a college or department advisor, and have a realistic backup plan. Get involved with your student orgs, utilize office hours, utilize our campus learning assistance service program tutoring, utilize math lab. The way to increase your odds is to be focused on getting the best grades in those core classes and all classes you take at UCSB. So that is to say, don't overload yourself. You do not have to have all your GEs done in order to change majors. So take manageable workloads this year if you are pursuing a change of major. And finally, email us if you're still unsure about things. You can see our email at coeinfo@engineering. But like I said, general questions, we're happy to help. Specific questions about exceptions to change a major policy really do have to go to the departments. We cannot tell you what exceptions they will accept. And finally, I did want to point out one more thing, which are our grids. So if you're looking at when should I be taking these classes by, I'm going to direct you over to GEAR is on our website. It is under academic advising, GEAR publications. It looks like this if you open the PDF. And starting on page 55, you will find what we call grids, 4-year study plans that we've created for all of our majors. So if you're worried about falling behind or you're wondering when the core classes should be taken, ideally, they're taken by the time our students are taking them. The only caveat there is computer science. Computer science is pretty flexible. Their classes are offered a lot more frequently. So you have a little more opportunity to take things outside of what grid says. But for the most part, our requirement sheets, you can also see our GEs are here. So if you're wondering what GEs the college requires, all of our majors have the same GE patterns and they all have these grids. You'll note ECE 10A, 10B are down here. You can't take them as freshmen. You don't have the prerequisites. So that's why we say you will change majors in your second year, because you can't take the required sequence any earlier. It is offered starting in the fall, and it goes fall, winter, spring, and they offer it a second time, winter, spring, fall. So that's why you have 2 windows of opportunity for that sequence. I will go down to our computer science for a moment so you can see that. I will also go down to electrical engineering so you can see that. My cat has woken up. He's here to say hello. And I will be going down to mechanical engineering so you can see that. And again, here's ME14's only offered in the fall and the summer. You can't go taking it in the winter or the spring because it's not available there, which is why those students cannot change until after fall of your sophomore year. Great. That being said, I will stop the recording, answer some questions that are in the chat. If you are, oh, last page, I didn't leave out before I stop the recording. Here are all the change of major websites. So like I said, we're the college. We are just communicating policy that's set by departments. So take a screenshot, write these down. These are the website links that you will find the change of major information for each individual major, and any updates that departments implement between now and next year will be on these websites. So definitely do not use this webinar as your only research on changing majors. You should also review the website. You should also reach out to the department advisor if you have questions, and especially if they want you to. Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for watching this if it's recorded, and I wish you all the best of luck in changing your majors. Again, don't be discouraged. There are people who make it every year, and you could be one of those people. So have a great first quarter, do well in your classes, and we will be talking to you soon.